Welcome to another episode of Retail Power Talks. I'm excited about today's conversation because we would be discussing the world of retail and e-commerce with Poonam Goyal, Senior Retail Analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. Poonam covers giants like Amazon, Nike, eBay, and so many more. And she has just published a fascinating analysis on Amazon and other broader digital retail. Welcome to the show, Poonam. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start from the top. In your recent report, Amazon is positioned to surpass $1.2 trillion in the total revenue by 2030. That's massive. What are the biggest levers Amazon is pulling to keep up this momentum?
Sure. I think, when you think about Amazon, it's clearly the largest online retailer in the US and one that continues to grow at a rapid momentum. Part of the strength that we see here is one, the shift that's happening from brick and mortar to online retail. So consumers in the US, notably, are still shopping in brick and mortar stores for the majority of their purchases. We estimate that 75% of all retail sales in the US are still done in the physical store. So the penetration of online sits around 25%. As that moves up to close to 33% by 2030, we think Amazon is well positioned to take share there. Also, Amazon's strength will be driven by third-party vendors. So Amazon's GMV currently, more than 60% of it comes from its third-party sellers. And we think that they'll continue to drive growth there, including with continued advancements across every category that it operates in. Whether it's apparel, whether it's home fashions, or any other category, we think Amazon still has a lot of opportunity to really take market share.
That's interesting. Like you said, a big part of Amazon's dominance also comes from the power of its third-party marketplace sellers, who seem to be the unsung heroes of Amazon's e-commerce success story. Could you walk us through why 3P sellers are so critical and what keeps them loyal to Amazon's platform?
Sure. So 3P sellers are very, very important to Amazon. And part of the reason is when you think about Amazon, you think of it as an everything store, right? If I'm looking for something, I tend to go to Amazon and I'm like, hey, maybe I'll find it there. The success is because of all these 3P sellers that help broaden its marketplace to offer it with thousands and thousands of more items across various categories. So it really broadens the assortment there. What makes them attractive is it makes Amazon an asset-light model to some extent, where they don't have to own the inventory. So now they're just serving as the mediator between the customer and these sellers to provide them the goods. They get the advantage of getting the sale on their marketplace, handling the customer experience, and even in some cases doing the fulfillment, because many of these sellers do use fulfillment by Amazon, taking a lucrative take rate of what we estimate to be north of 30%. And that really flows largely to the bottom line because the costs associated with it are a lot less than one where if they were selling the item on their own and having to own that inventory, which obviously has more risk.
Yeah, and while Amazon is building out its massive ecosystem, the competition is heating up. We're seeing the meteoric rise of Temu and Shein, especially with younger and price-sensitive customers. How real is the threat they pose to Amazon and other Western retailers?
Yeah, it's a threat. It's definitely a threat because Temu and Shein can really push the price down, and they have benefited in recent years from the de minimis exemption, which allowed them to ship directly from China to U.S. customers without having to pay a tax on the goods or a tariff. That levy has now been lifted as of recently, and we've seen prices go up astronomically on their websites. That levels the playing field a little for Amazon, and with Amazon recently launching Haul, which is its answer to Temu and Shein, we think that there will be a fight between, the largest on value, and we think customers will choose to go for value, especially in this environment, looking for options wherever they can find them, whether it's at Temu, Shein, or Amazon, or even Walmart, right? We do think that customers will choose value, and Amazon's response with Haul is a first step to really push the pedal harder on value.
Yeah, you also highlighted Walmart's aggressive digital expansion, particularly in groceries, where Amazon still struggles. What's keeping Amazon from cracking the grocery code?
No, I think Amazon's not a grocer to begin with, right? Walmart is.
Yeah.
More than 50% of Walmart's sales come from
Mm-hmm.
consumables. So Walmart knows how to operate the grocery business, and they've
Mm-hmm.
done it
Mm-hmm.
successfully. Their stores also help. The fact that, Walmart is largely a brick and mortar store footprint across the US, they have
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to tap into those stores for buy online, pick up from store, to fulfill from these stores that are in neighborhoods where Amazon has fresh stores, has Whole Foods, but compared to the physical locations that Walmart or any other US grocer has, it's still
Mm-hmm.
less. And therefore, they need to work harder. They need to understand the grocery business better. It's just not what they're experts in today.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating. If you talk about digital advertising, how does Amazon's growth in digital advertising change the game for traditional retail players who've mostly relied on physical space and seasonal promotions?
Yeah, look, advertisement is a very lucrative arm for Amazon and really for any other digital marketplace in the US.
Yeah.
We're seeing many lean towards advertising because the dollars that they generate from these ads
Mm-hmm.
flow directly to the bottom line. They have operating margins, the segment has operating margins north of 50%, sometimes as high as 70 to 80%. So it's just natural for Amazon to go in this direction. In fact, we estimate that their advertising segment could grow to over $100 billion in the next 5 to 7 years, which is pretty
Wow.
significant from where they are today. And we do think that it's an area for investment. It's an area where they will thrive. Currently, the ad business is largely on the retail side, but they're growing Prime Video ads too, which will also add to that.
Hmm. Well, jumping into tech, there's so much buzz around AI in retail, and Amazon is right in the thick of it. How are retailers, not just Amazon, but players like Etsy, Wayfair, and eBay, using generative AI to enhance the customer journey and seller tools?
Sure, yeah, AI is game changer for retail, especially generative AI. It really
Mm-hmm.
has allowed retailers to improve their productivity and across every part of their organization, whether it's in customer service, whether it's in fulfillment, or in any other area where there are AI investments, we're seeing them seeing real returns. For Amazon specifically, I think customer service is a big area of investment. We know they have the
Mm-hmm.
Rufus, which they've recently launched, which is basically a personal assistant, right? You go onto Amazon.com and you say, I'm looking for XYZ, and Rufus will help you find
Yeah.
it and help you price compare, etc. We have eBay, which uses a lot of generative AI, and they're actually doing a really good job with it, where they help their sellers to list products through generative AI. So historically, you had to think, well, how much should I sell this for, right? If you have an item, you have to figure out, well, what's the right price on this marketplace? How should I display it? How should I write a description for it, etc. And eBay's working on all of those things to help sellers list the items faster, which will help broaden the inventory on its marketplace, bringing speed to market on the marketplace.
Yeah, on a broader note, retail today isn't just about what's trending. It's also shaped by global events from inflation to tariffs. My last question for you would be, how are macro factors like tariffs and shifting consumer sentiment shaping strategies for retailers in 2025 and beyond? Are we entering a more cautious, value-driven area?
I think the consumer has always focused on value. And when we think about the current state of the consumer with tariffs, especially, clearly it's unknown territory. It's very new, and things are still very volatile. I think retailers are trying to navigate those times very carefully because we don't know what's here to stay and what could change. The
Yeah.
investment should still be longer term instead of near term because the near term is so unpredictable at the moment. But
Yeah.
I think the bigger retailers with the deeper pockets are better able to navigate through these tough times because
Mhm.
they can invest back in price to keep their customers loyal on their platforms. And
Yeah.
Amazon once comes to mind here because they do have other verticals that they can lean into to help those investments in price, like AWS and advertising.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been a very insightful conversation with you, Poonam, a very phenomenal conversation. Thank you for taking out time for this podcast. I really appreciate that. For our listeners, if you like the episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your fellow retail geeks. Catch you next time.